Okay, so we are now moving towards our next lecture, that is virtual memory. But as I told you that lecture number 7 and lecture number 8, they are like continued lectures, are the same concept of having the memory. So we are talking about now memory management. So lecture number 7, we discussed about what is the primary memory, what is the secondary memory, how do the memory access is done by the process, and we discussed about the concept of logical address and the physical address. So just to revise, the CPU generates logical address, means in the program, so suppose we have a program. So in this program we have our code and we have memory variables, and I know the process, the main code. So for this, actually CPU, it generates logical address. Now for this logical address means this is some kind of data. It needs memory in the system. It needs memory in the system, which means it needs a physical memory in the system. Now what the system has to do, we have memory management unit. It has to make the connection between the logical address. For the logical address, it actually needs the physical address. Okay, so for example, I say I want to take class. So if I say lecture is a logical thing, means it is not something real. So for taking the lecture, I want a classroom. So for lecture, classroom is the physical thing. Okay, so now registration department does what? Registration department say, okay, for the course ITDR 3102 operating system, you have the class in K001. So that is the class I am sitting now. So that is where we are going to get the timetable for the lecture. So lecture, if you see on the paper, it is something logical, not real. But I have to take the lecture physically in the classroom, means I need a place. So our program is something logical. What the CPU does for the program, it creates a logical address. And now for this logical address, we need to have the real address where in the RAM. Means some location, the process wants some location. So what the memory management unit does, it will take the logical address and it will convert the logical address into physical address. How we have seen, it will take the process logical address, and for the memory there will be a base address. So the starting point, I said it is a base address. Suppose for example 400 is the base address. So this process 1 starts with this address, that is the starting point, which is 400. Then each address 1, 2, 3, 4 will be converted into physical address, means this will be 401, this will be 402. Like from the starting point, it will convert the logical address to physical address. That we understand in the logical and physical addressing method. In the middle, it will check for the limit. Is it within the limit? Because maybe from 500 it is given to another process, so it can take only from 400 to 500. If it is more than 500, it cannot, because it should be less than the limit. So all these concepts we have seen in the previous lecture. Next part of the lecture, the previous lecture, we discussed about memory allocation, how the process will be allotted with the memory. There are two methods we discussed. One is contiguous allocation, and the second method is non-contiguous memory allocation. Okay, in the contiguous allocation, we have seen two methods. Simple method. What is simple method? Divide the memory into equal size portions and then give to the process. We have seen there are some problems of internal fragmentation, also external fragmentation. What is the second method? Complex method. What is complex method? We have memory of different size holes. We call the memory as now holes. Some may be small, some may be big. And we take the process according to three algorithms. If you remember, first fit, best fit, and worst fit. By using three algorithms, we are going to place the process into the memory. So how these three algorithms are working, we understood in the previous class. I want you to check the video again, practice very well, because I told you all the mathematical problems or the algorithm questions are very important for the exam point of view also, because from the past experience, you definitely expect the questions on these kind of topics. Lecture 4 also, we have the scheduling algorithms. Like all these mathematical or algorithmic topics are very important. Today also, we are going to see one such kind of thing. Okay, so this is contiguous memory allocation, which is simple and complex. Now, in non-contiguous memory allocation, we talked about paging. So what is paging? Process will be divided into equal size pages, and to keep these pages, we need to give the memory, the physical memory, RAM, we call it as the same size frames. Now each page will be kept into a particular frame. How it happened, we have seen in the previous class. We have a page table which stores page 0 is kept on frame number 1. Page number 1 is kept on frame number 4, for example. Page 3 or say page 2 is kept on frame number 7, for example. So likewise, with the help of this page table, we can understand that which page is kept onto which frame. Now, why I want to revise this topic is we are actually going to continue from here today. So we are going to talk about demand paging. What it is, I will tell you in the coming slides. There are page replacement algorithms. This is important topic for today. Because we need to replace the pages in the memory. What it is, I will tell you once we go into the slide. But these algorithms are very important for us to understand. Then frame allocation, and there is a concept called thrashing. We are going to understand in this particular lecture. Okay, so again, to take you back to the same point, the code or the program needs to be in the memory to execute, but the entire program is rarely used. Okay, so error code, unusual routines, large data structures. Sometimes, you know what they are trying to say, we have a program with lot of code, but this whole thing need not be in the memory, because maybe we need to load the first portion of the program. Maybe this is a method. We know normally the methods, when we call it, it needs to be in the memory. Otherwise, we need not to load this method. Likewise, what is the point we need to know is the entire program is rarely used. The error code, you remember exceptions. Remember exceptions in Java. So when we have your method, okay, so in the end, you are going to write exception. So are we going to use exception every time? No, only when the error occurs, then only the code in the exception is going to work, which means this code need not to be in the memory. What we need to know from this line, the code needs to be in the memory to execute, but the entire program is not required, rarely used, like the error messages or the exceptions, unusual routines. Routine is like a method or large data structures. Okay, so entire program code not needed at same time. Maybe first portion we can load it, then if we need this method, we can load it. So which means portion by portion we can load into the memory. Okay, so consider ability to execute partially loaded program. Now what is the idea we are going to come into? We need to have the ability to run the program which is partially loaded into the computer. Means full program is not required to load into that. Okay, so program no longer constrained by the limits of physical memory. Now I'm telling you what is the point we are trying to say here. The idea where we are going to get now is, suppose we have a process. Okay, this is my process 1. It wants, for example, 500 MB. Okay, we have process 2, which is, for example, another 500 MB. We have another process which is 300 MB, for example. Okay, so like that, we have, say, another process P4 with another 400 MB. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. And our RAM has got a limitation. Okay, so our RAM is now only 1000 MB. Okay, now tell me, generally if we think, how many programs we can run at the same time? Can we run all the four programs at the same time? Is it possible?
No.
No. Reason, we have only 1000 MB. Only 1000 MB. Maybe I can run process 1. I can put process 1. I can put process 2. That is one combination. Or if I think, okay, not possible, I don't want to run process 1 now. I can run process 2. I can run maybe process 3. Possible. Or maybe I can run process 2 and maybe process 4, because it's 500 MB and this is 400 MB, so 900 MB. It's okay. But what we come to know that physical memory is limited. Physical memory is limited. What do we mean by that? Only few programs can be executed. Now, what is the solution? I want to run all these programs at the same time. Are you following my point? What I am trying to say? We may have more programs. But the physical memory is limited. Now, what is the solution we need to get into now? Do you understand the problem? Do you understand the problem?
No, Mister.
See, we have the limited memory. The physical memory of the computer, which is the RAM, is limited. If you look at this example, we have now four processes. Process 1, 500 MB, process 2, 500 MB, process 3, 300 MB, process 4, 400 MB. We have more programs, which is, if you look at this, 500 plus 500, 1000, 1300, 1700. I need 1700 MB to run all four programs, but my RAM is only 1000 MB. Okay, is that clear now? The number of programs
Yes.
are more, the RAM is limited. Now we are trying to find out the solution for this. What is the solution now is, just understand, if you understand this point, this complete lecture will become easy for you. Now, what is the solution we need to make? I want to run all the programs. Okay, so let me put P4 also there. Okay, I want to run all the programs at the same time. So what is the solution now? What they are trying to say is, this program need not to be loaded completely in the memory, because that's what the first point we have seen today. Maybe we have one method which is not required now. Only when I am calling the method, I need it. Maybe I have another method. If I call it, I may need the method. So what we need to do is, we identified one point with the explanation of the initial part of that. Okay. So entire program code not needed at the same time. Okay. So we want to take this advantage now. So what we want to do, with the help of that advantage, I can break this program into different pieces So what I will do now, maybe the first 200 MB is important for me. The remaining 300 MB is not needed. Okay, likewise, if I take the first program, maybe 100 MB is important for me. Remaining 400 MB is not important to start now. If I take third program or a process 3, maybe I need 100 MB, or say, for example, we want to take 300 MB, all this program is important, we want to load at the same time. Okay, we have process 4. In this process 4, 200 MB is important. Remaining 200 MB, I can load it later. So if I look at this now, for process 1, we want 200 MB. For process 2, we want 100 MB. For process 3, we want 300 MB. Process 4, we want 200 MB. So if I make the total of that, I want 800 MB to run all 4 processes. So do we have now 800 MB in the system?
Yes.
Yes, because we have now 1000 MB in the system. Still, we have 200 MB more in the system, which means now with the help of this arrangement, I can run all the 4 programs at the same time. How this is getting possible? Because of one solution. What is that one solution? We need not to load, just keep this point in your mind. So process not required to be loaded fully in the beginning. Process not required to be loaded fully in the beginning. So what we do now, we take the RAM. Okay, it is 1000 MB RAM. I start process 1. Okay, I start process 1. I'll just give only 200 MB. Later, after some time, maybe it will say, I want more memory. I want more memory. If you look at my example, I will start process 1 with 200 MB. I will start process 2 with 100 MB. Okay, now this is our RAM now. I start process 3 with 300 MB. I start process 4 with 200 MB. Now 4 processes are working. Okay, so understand. 4 process 1, process 2, process 3, process 4 working, but they are not completely loaded into the memory. After some time, process 1 will say, I want more memory, because there is a method. And this method will take another 100 MB. I want more memory to run this. So what we will do now, we will see if the memory, if you understand my slide now, what I'm explaining, the whole lecture will be very clear for you. Okay, so what process 1 will say, I want more memory now. Is the memory free? Tell me, is the memory free now?
Yes.
How much memory we have free?
200.
200 MB. So process 1 wants only 100 MB. Okay, I will say, okay, you have the memory, take 100 MB. Process 1, you take 100 MB. Still, we have 100 MB free. Now process 2 will say, I want 200 MB now. Process 2 will say, I want 200 MB now. Do we have 200 MB?
No.
No, we are free. We have free memory, only 100 MB. But process 2 is doing some important job. Process 2 is doing some important job, and it is asking, I want 200 MB more. I want to complete the job. I want 200 MB more. Now what we will do, we will look into the RAM. Okay, is memory free? If it is yes, we will give the memory like we did for process 1. We give the memory for process 1. But for process 2, we don't have memory. What we will do, we want to run process 2. What we will do, we look into the process which already working. We see maybe process 4 is not doing some important job. What we can do, okay, process 2, you stop for some time. because you are not doing an important job. Now I will remove you from the memory. Okay, understanding my point, right? I will remove you from the memory. Process 2, now you take this 200 MB and you complete your job. Do you understand the point? Do you understand the point? We'll try to find the free memory in the system. If the memory is available, we will give it. If the memory is not available, we will choose some process from here. We will remove from the memory and we will keep it into hard disk, and we will say process 2, you take the memory, you complete the job and give me back the memory. So after some time, process 2 will complete the job. It will leave all the memory. Then we take the memory and we can say process 4, now you start your work. Do you understand the point? Do you understand the point? This is the concept what we are going to discuss now. Okay, so this is called as virtual memory. So what is virtual memory? Anyone can tell me the meaning of virtual?
Not real.
Not real. So why we say the name virtual? Because process 1 thinks, okay, I really got the memory. I really got the memory, and because it started its work, right? It thinks that I got a memory, I am going to work now. But in the reality, it has not got the memory. That's why process 1 does not have the memory. Process 1 has virtual memory. In the same way, process 2 think I am working now means I got a memory, but really we did not give any memory to process 2. We just virtually gave process 2 to start the work, and when it is asking for more memory, we are going to give the memory. This is the idea of today's lecture. What we are going to do now is understand. We take the memory. I gave you 500 MB, 200 MB, 300 MB, but in the process, normally is divided into pages. Means what? We have page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4 for process 1. Okay, so what we do? We load page 1, we load page 2 in the memory. After some time, it is asking for more memory, then page 3, page 4 can be loaded. Means, remember my example, not with MBs, 500 MB, 400 MB. Remember with pages, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. In the same way, for process 2 also, we have pages. So maybe it is a small process, page 1, page 2 only. And what we do in the system, we load the pages. Means we don't load all 4 pages for process 1. We load maybe only page number 1. Okay, you start your work and you work, you complete your job. What is there? After some time, it say I want more memory. Okay, page number 2 will also be loaded in the memory. After some time, it will say I want more memory. Okay, page number 3 can be loaded into the memory. Likewise, what we do is whenever the process wants to load, we will load it. Whenever the process has completed the job, we are going to remove the pages from the memory. That is the whole idea of today's lecture. So what we do now is, let's understand. So we take the advantage of entire program code not needed at the same time. So what is the ability we are looking for? Execute partially loaded program. Means the program can be partially loaded into the memory and then we can execute it. Okay, so program no longer constrained by the limits of the physical memory. Now we don't bother about what is the physical memory, means how much RAM we have in the computer. Each program takes less memory while running, more program run at the same time. That's what I told you. Each program is going to take less memory while they are running, more programs run at the same time. When we do that, what is the advantage? Increased CPU utilization, because more number of programs can run at the same time. And what is the throughput? Remember lecture 4, we talk about throughput, means more number of programs can complete. Okay, increase CPU utilization and throughput with no increase in response time and turnaround time. Means quickly the programs will work and more number of programs will work. And with the help of this, there is a less input and output needed to load or swap the programs in and out of the main memory, and the programs run faster. What you need to keep in mind, there are many advantages of doing this. Okay, so what is the main idea I already explained to you. What is virtual memory? It is a separation of the user logical memory from physical memory. So we have logical memory, we have physical memory. What we need to do, only part of the program need to be in the memory for execution. That's what I told you. When we have the process, a big process, we need not to load entire process in the memory. We just need to load only part of that process into the memory. Okay, so that means the logical address space can therefore be much bigger than the physical address space. Means we can have more process, bigger process. I already gave you the example. The list of process 1000 something MB, but the physical memory can be less, maybe 1000 MB only. That's why I gave you this example. Physical memory only 5000 MB, but logical memory can be more, means 500, 500, 400, 300, total 1200 MB. It's going, sorry, it's, how much it was? 1700 MB, but it is only 1000 MB. So we can run. So it allows more efficient process creation, and the address can be shared by many process, more programs running concurrently, less input and output needed by the system, swapping, loading to the hard disk, bringing to the memory. So that is the idea of virtual memory. Okay. So these are some, technical points which will confuse you. I will not explain about that. So what we need to do, the logical address we need to put onto the physical address. I try to explain this point with a simple example. Okay. Now, how are we going to implement the virtual memory? That is done with the help of demand paging. Okay. We don't talk about demand segmentation because the last class we talked about paging and segmentation. Both of them are almost the same. So that's why we talk about only demand paging. So what is demand paging? What do you mean by demand? When we are asking for something, that is demand. Like the children, they ask for chocolate. They say, I want chocolate. Means the children demanding for the chocolate. The children say, I want to go outside. Means what do you mean by demand? Asking for something. Now, what is demand paging? We understand what is paging. Paging is a memory. Okay, what is demand paging? The process is demanding. The process is demanding for pages. So when it is asking, what do we mean by this demand paging? When the process is demanding for the pages, we will give the page. Otherwise, we don't load the full process into the memory. That is the idea, demand paging. When it is asking, we load it. Otherwise, we don't want to load it. Okay, if you look at this, this is the logical address, page 0, page 1, page 2, page 3. And we have the memory. Remember, this is the example we have seen in the last class. And one point we did not discuss. I told you that point, but you need to keep in mind. So what is this V? Anyone remember? Anyone remember? Okay, so let me clarify this. So this page 0 is loaded onto frame number 1. I told you, if you remember, these are pages and these are frames. Frames means actually the RAM. The RAM is divided into frames. Now this page has found a frame. What is the number of the frame? Frame number 1. So in the page table, we are writing, okay, page 0 is loaded onto frame number 1. Okay, because it has loaded into the memory, this is valid now. This is valid. Okay, now page number 1 is loaded onto frame number 4. You can see here, frame number 4, page number 1 is loaded onto frame number 4, means this page of memory has found a physical memory. That's why this is also valid. This is also valid. Same thing, page number 2 is loaded onto frame number 3, so this is valid. Page number 3 is loaded onto frame number 6. So this is valid. Means the pages are all loaded onto the memory. Sometimes what will happen is, I will tell you about these two lines in the coming after explaining the point. Now look at this example. Okay, so here page 0 is loaded onto frame number 4. Page 2 is loaded onto frame number 6. And there are other pages. There are other pages. Okay, so let us use the, let us say this is, let me put the numbers, okay. This is 0. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. Okay, if you look at this, if you look at this, page 0, page 0, page 0 is loaded onto frame number 4. Okay, that's why this is valid. Page 1, is it loaded anywhere, students? Page 1, is it loaded anywhere on the frames?
No.
No. That's why, please remember, that's why it is invalid. So this is valid or invalid depending upon whether the logical memory has found the physical memory or not. If it has found, it is valid. If it is not loaded, that is called as invalid. That's why you can see here, page number 1 is invalid because it is not loaded onto the frame. Page number 2 is valid. Page number 2 is loaded onto frame number 6. You can see this page number 2 is loaded onto frame number 6. In the page table, you can see page number 2 is loaded onto frame number 6. That's why it is valid. Page number 3 is not loaded anywhere. That's why invalid. Page number 4 invalid. Page number 5 also invalid. So that's how we have the example of demand paging. What is demand paging? When it is asking. Now, for example, we started this process. We started the process. Now the program is telling, I want to load page number 5. I want, okay, let us take page number 3. I want to load page number 3. Then what we will do, we will see the frames. We will see the frames. We have so many free frames here. Okay, we have free frames here. Now what we will do, okay, we will take the data from the hard disk because we know we cannot go to the hard disk and bring the data directly to the CPU. We need to bring the data from here, keep on to the frame. Okay, now I want frame number 3. Okay, so which is this one. I will bring this, I will keep on to frame number, for example, 2. We will do this and we'll say the data which required by the process is now kept on to frame number 2. Frame number 2 for page number 3. Now what I will do, I will modify the page table. We will modify the page table. What we will do, page number 3. Now tell me, page number 3 is loaded onto frame number. Page number 3 loaded on frame number
2.
Frame number 2. Good. And now it is invalid or valid?
Valid.
Valid. So now this is going to be valid. This is how we do demand paging. Means when the process is asking for the page, okay, let me continue the example. Now we want to load page number 1. So page number 1 is something related to this. We will put the data somewhere here. Okay, page number 1 we'll put on to frame number 1. Then we'll modify the page table. We'll modify the page table. We say page number 1 is loaded onto frame number 1. And we'll say this is now valid. This is called as demand paging. What is demand paging? When the process is asking for the page, we need to load the page onto the frame. Means we need to queue the memory to the process and we adjust or we modify the page table. So this is called as demand paging. I'm going back. Okay, so what we need to do now, we understand about the page table. So what we can do, we can go further, only load a page when the CPU is referencing it. Means we need not to load any page in the beginning. When the CPU is asking for the page, that is when the CPU is demanding for the page for the process, we are going to load that page into the frame. This is called as demand paging. Okay, so we can easily use paging scheme to implement the swapping, means to send the data from the hard disk to memory, memory to hard disk. How do we implement the demand paging? The page entries typically contains additional information, which is valid, invalid bit. That's what I explained to you. Here we have valid bit, invalid bit. Okay, used to indicate whether the page number referred by the process is inside the allotted number of pages or not. If it is inside that, it will be valid. If it is not inside that, it is going to be invalid. Okay, also along with valid and invalid, we can also have some extra information like protection, whether we can the data is read-only data or it is read and write data. Now this is not important point for now to discuss. We need to know whether the page is loaded or not loaded. The valid invalid bit is often used to specify whether a page has been loaded or not loaded into the frame. If it is there, the page table will show valid. If it is not there, the page table will show invalid. Okay, so this is how we know that how many pages are loaded and how many pages are not loaded. Now this is the important point we need to discuss for the lecture. If the page is not loaded, okay, accessing invalid page. What do we mean by invalid page? I told you already. Invalid page means page not loaded. That is called as invalid page. So if we are trying to access such kind of invalid pages in the table, that results in a trap. I told you what do you mean by a trap. Trap means error, or it's kind of a indication. It's kind of a indication, or we call it as a alert. It's kind of a message, or it's kind of a indication, or it's kind of a error. Okay, so when the process try to access invalid page in the table, what do you mean by the table? That is the page table. They mean table means page table. So when the process, when it is trying to access the invalid page, it results in a trap to the operating system. Now operating system, what it has to do? The operating system determines the reason or the cause for that error or that trap. Okay, so if it is invalid memory access, suppose the process is trying to do some invalid operation, invalid memory access. Okay, it is going to stop that program, because if you remember, we talked about the process will try to do some invalid memory access. That is, it will try to do access of the memory of some other process. Okay, if it is the reason, we need to terminate it. If the page is not loaded, okay, like we have seen the previous example, that is called as a page fault. So what is a page fault? The page is not loaded. Here if you see the example, invalid, 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 invalid. What is the reason for this? Because these pages which the process wants are not loaded into the page table. Now all these four we call them as page fault. Page fault. Okay, so do you understand now what is the page fault? So the page fault is when the page is not loaded into the physical memory. So where is the data? The data is in the hard disk, but the data for this particular process is not loaded onto the frame. That is called as a page fault. Now remember, this is very important to know what is page fault. So the page fault is when the page is not loaded into the memory, we get a page fault. Okay, how to deal with the page fault? This is important process we need to know. Okay, I already explained you the example in the previous slide. if we get a page fault, what we need to know? We need to find a free frame in the memory. I already did that. Okay, in the previous example, we need to find the free frames. So I told you already we have the free frames because A and C are loaded. All the other things are free. So what is the first step? Remember, very important. What is the first step? We need to find a free frame in the memory. And second step, what we need to do? Schedule a disk operation to read the desired page into this frame. Now, what we need to do? We need to go to the hard disk. We need to read the data from this hard disk, and then we need to put the data onto the free page. So what is the first step? Find the free place, go to the hard disk, read the data from here, backing storage, and bring the data into the frame. That is our second point. Schedule a disk operation to read the desired page into the frame. That is second point. I already shown you. What is the third step? Modify the page table appropriately. So what we did, the third step, we bring this D from the backing storage into this frame, and we need to change the page table. So page 3 is loaded onto frame number 2. So we modify the page table. This is our third step. Modify the page table appropriately. Now restart the instruction. Means we need to start our program to run from there. It is important that the process is restarted in exactly the state that generated the fault. Means we are not going to start the process from the beginning. We are going to start from the location where it actually stopped, the previous state. Okay, so what is this process? Very important to remember, because we want to know how to deal the page fault. When there is a page fault, we need to find the frame. We need to go to the hard disk, bring that page from the hard disk into the frame, modify the page table, and restart the instruction. Okay, is that clear, students? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me one answer. If we don't find free frames here, what do we need to do? If it is full, I already explained to you here in this example. If the memory is full, I told you what we need to do. Do you remember that?
Delete unwanted process and
Okay.
put.
We need to delete some unwanted process, and then we can give the memory to the process, which is very important. Now, same thing we need to do it here. Now, if all the frames, for example, are busy, okay, as per my previous example, they were free. Now, if I look at, for example, here it is loaded with some data, here it is loaded with data, loaded with data, loaded with data, no frame, everything is busy. Now, what we need to do, we need to choose the frame, and then we need to remove something from the frame, and then we need to give the frame to the process. That is what we are going to see the solution. We'll talk about that later. We have an algorithm. I told you choose the frame. Now you will get a question in your mark. Teacher, which frame? Because maybe this frame is important. Maybe this frame is important for the process. Maybe this frame is important for the process. Now you will get a question mark in your mind, and you should get a question mark. Teacher, which frame? Here, in my example, I randomly told you, okay, I am going to remove process number 4. But there should be some method, right? There should be some method. Now, what we need to have, this we are not going to do manually. I am not going to remove, I am not going to put the frame. The computer operating system is going to choose. Means there should be some algorithm. Remember, algorithm means what? It's a program. Already, there should be some method in the operating system to deal with this. We are going to discuss about that in the coming slides, how to choose the frame. Okay, so we'll talk about that later, but keep this point in your mind. Okay, first we'll try to find the free frame if it is available, then put the data onto the frame, modify the page table, and we use the process, or we continue the process. This is how generally we deal with the page fault. Just keep this point in your mind. Okay, now what we want, we have 2-3 slides to make you understand that how to deal with the demand paging, means how do we get the page faults. On average, how long does it take to access the memory location in demand paging? Because if you understand this, the previous process, first we need to find the free frame, means, and I just want to tell you what happens in the background. The CPU has to go and find free page, means we need time. Second thing, number 2, the CPU has to go to the CPU has to perform the operation to bring the data from hard disk to RAM. This also needs time. Okay, and then the CPU has to go to RAM again to run the instruction or to restart the instruction. The CPU has to go to the RAM, because now the page table is adjusted. Now the data is available inside the RAM. The CPU now has to go to the RAM to do the instruction, means again we are going to take the time. Okay, if you understand that, we are taking more time than usual to run the process if the process is not loaded onto the memory. Okay, so hope you understand my point. What I am trying to say here is we need more time. If all the process is, suppose in the beginning itself, all the 4 pages are there in the process, it won't take extra time, because A, B, C, D are already loaded and they are going to work. And if it is the case, the CPU is just going to come directly here and it is going to complete the job quickly. But now it is not the case. It finds only part of the program is loaded. It is going to take more time to go to the hard disk. First it will see if it is there or not. If it is not there, it will go to the hard disk, bring the data from there, modify the page table, go to the RAM again, bring. Means it is going to take more time. Now we are talking about that time here. We are going to talk about the time. On average, how long does it take to access a memory location in demand paging? Okay, so there is a question here, because I told you about the time. It is going to take more time. Now, how do we calculate this? There are some factors. What are the factors? Okay, how much time it will take to access the memory? Memory access time means for the CPU to go to the RAM and to read the data from the RAM, that is memory access time. Normally it is in milliseconds. Okay, and now page fault time. I told you that we are going to get the page fault. Okay, and what we need to do when we get the page fault, we need to go to the hard disk, we need to bring the data from there, and then we need to load the data onto the memory. It is going to take the time. That is page fault time. That is also in milliseconds. Okay, and what is the probability of the page fault? Normally probability means it is a percentage. How many page faults we will get? Maybe we will get, suppose if we have more memory and if we have few process, okay, maybe the probability of getting the page fault is only 5%. Okay, suppose we have memory and we have say for example average number of programs, not few process or more process, the probability of getting the page fault may be 50%, means we get more page faults. If we have many more programs, okay, the probability may be 70%. So what I want to tell you here is, if we are going to get more number of page faults, the probability of the page faults is going to be increased. That is actually the percentage. Okay, now what we will do, we will take, remember this formula is not important for you to know mathematically, but I just want to tell you the importance of the page faults. Okay, so we take 3 factors. What is the probability? Maybe 10%, 20%, or whatever the probability. This is the formula. 1 minus probability. Suppose 10% is 0.1%. We know percentage is multiplied by the time to access the memory access time, that is TA, sorry, that is TA, and probability again 0.1 percentage multiplied by the time to service the page faults, again the page fault time for the page fault. So when we apply the formula, what is the time we are going to get? That is going to be the time it is going to access or it is going to serve the demand paging. Okay, so just I want you to understand one point. This formula is not important. These factors are not important. What I want to tell you is, if we get more page faults, suppose if the probability of the page faults is 5%, the time it is going to take very less. If the probability of the page faults are more, the time is going to increase, because we are multiplying that. We are using the multiplication of the probability, means it is going to take more time. I want you to keep one point in your mind. Okay, I want you to take one point in your mind. Okay, so ignore all these points. Ignore all these points. The example also not important. This is the example to calculate the access time. So here they give 1% probability. I told you in my example 5% probability. Now here they are telling 1% probability. Okay, so 1% probability, 1 minus 1% is 99%. We may not get the page fault, multiplied by what is 100. 100 is the nanoseconds for accessing the memory, and 25 milliseconds to have the page fault time. So that is 25 milliseconds. They converted into that. They use the formula. What I want to tell you is, just remember one point. Just one point. Ignore all these things. Okay, not important for you to know. What you need to know is just listen. Okay, so for efficient paging, the page faults need to be very rare. How do we understand this? If I apply this formula, just if you get 1% page fault in the computer, okay, so 250,000 nanoseconds time it is going to spend more for just serving 1% of the page faults. Imagine if we are going to get 2% of the page fault, it is going to take more time. If we are going to take 3% of the page faults, we are going to take more time. What is the lesson we get from this formula? That's why we get this formula. Not important for mathematical calculation and to do things. Just remember one point. Just one key point. More page faults, the system is going to be slow. So what is the solution for that? We need to have the page faults to be very rare, which means we need to have few number of page faults only. Now, first of all, why do we get the page faults? When the process is not loaded into the memory, we get the page faults. Okay, so now one part of the lecture is over. Now we are going to discuss important point of the lecture, that is page replacement algorithms. First, let us take a break. Okay, after the break, I will complete this. This is very important topic. Okay, and we have some algorithms to discuss. There are different algorithms we need to identify. Okay, so let's take a break of 5 minutes. Then after the break, we'll discuss about these algorithms. And after discussing the algorithms, I will stop the lecture. And this is very important topic. Pay attention and listen. Okay, so let's take a break, refresh, and then we'll start after 5 minutes. Okay. Now listen with utmost importance or attention, because this is very important topic you need to understand. Now we are going to discuss about the page replacement algorithms. So what is page replacement algorithm is, as we discussed previously, so if the memory is full, if main memory is full, when the page fault is generated, one of the pages currently being held needs to be replaced. So like I told you already that, so if it is full, okay, and we don't find any space in the memory, what we need to do, we need to find any of the frame, okay, and we need to replace the page from here to the backing storage and make it free so that we can utilize it. That is the point we are going to discuss now. So if the memory is full, if the memory is full, when the page fault is generated, one of the pages currently being held needs to be replaced. So what we need to do, one of the pages which is there in the memory, that we need to remove. Okay, suppose we have memory. Now in this, we have, say for example, page A, page B, page C, page D, page E. It's all full. We need to choose any one of them and we need to remove. Okay, so find a free frame of the memory. If there is a free frame in the memory, already we discussed this point. If there is any free frame, say for example, it is free, we can use it. If it is not there, what we need to do, select a frame to swap out. What do we mean by swap out? We take the data from here. Okay, suppose this is busy now, all full. We need to choose any one of them, and this is our hard disk. We need to take any one of them. Suppose for example, C, we swap out. What is swap out? We take from here, we put it back to the backing storage, that is swap out. Swap in means bring the data from hard disk to memory. Swap out means take the data from memory to hard disk. I will keep it here. Okay, so save it to the backing store. Proceed as before. What do you mean by proceed as before? Whatever the data is needed here, bring on to the memory, then make the change in the page table, and then do the process. That is a normal thing. But now our point here is, if it is full, what we need to do? Okay, now, as I told you, which one we need to choose? A or B or C or D or E? Which one do we need to choose? So there are different methods for deciding which page we need to swap out. Okay, now how do we actually do is, they have given one method called, for the memory, there will be a reference string. What is reference string is, these are actually the page numbers. Okay, so take it as page number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Okay, and these are the frames. These are the frames. Now, according to this reference string, remember, this is called as a reference string. Please remember this. This is reference string. So these are usually evaluated with respect to a reference string of the page request and a memory consisting of small number of frames. Okay, so if you look at this, this is actually, I'll just make a note, because later when you watch the lecture, just remember, this is actually reference string, and these are actually our frames. These are our frames. Okay, now try to understand here how it happens. Okay, now what is the method? The first algorithm, remember, now we are going to deal with first algorithm, that is FIFO. What is FIFO? First in, first out. Like, remember, first come, first serve in algorithms of scheduling. In the same way, first in, first out. What we understand from this, whichever the page comes first, it will be removed first. Okay, first come, first in, first out. So whichever the page comes first, that will be removed first. Now, how do we know which page has come first, which page has come later? We need to look into the reference string. We need to look into the reference string. Let me make it clear. Okay, if you look at this, page number 7, page number 0, page number 1, page number 2, this is actually the list of pages. And by looking at this, we can decide that which page has come first. Okay, just one moment. I will open another lecture which it will show clearly, because I think they modified this lecture. I will show the tracing, how it is done. Okay, now see this. This is our first in, first out algorithm. So what happens here is the page. Okay, if you look at this, initially you consider all the frames as blank. This is blank, this is blank, this is blank. Now, first we are going to put the 7 first. Then already 7 is there in the frame. Then we put 0. Then 1 is going to be placed. Now, how this algorithm is going to work? First in, first out. Now tell me, because if you answer me, you will get the idea of the algorithm. Now tell me, I want to put 2. Which page do you choose from this to remove? Do you choose 7, or do you choose 0, or do you choose 1?
7.
7. Why 7? Because 7 has come first. First in, first out. So if you look at this, 7, 0, 1, 7 has come first. So I want to place 2. So I want to remove 7. So see now, 7 is replaced with 2, because 7 is the first page. Is that clear, students? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now we have 0, which means the process was using 0. Again, it want to use the same program maybe. Do we need to replace, or do we need to do anything here? Do we need to replace this page again, or already because it is available here, we need to leave it? Tell me, what is your thought on this? The page which CPU is asking is already on the memory. Do you think we need to load it again?
No need.
No need, because the page which the CPU is asking, page 0, is already on the memory. So means it is not a page fault. It is not a page fault. What is page fault? When the page is not loaded into the memory, we get a page fault. Okay, if I go back, in the beginning, the frames were like this. Blank. So I put 7, means there is a page fault. Then I put 0. So here we put 0. There is a page fault. Here we put 1. There is a page fault because it was not there. And here also we replace 7 with the 2. This is a page fault. Now here it is not a page fault. Why no page fault? Because already 0 is available here. Okay, now tell me. Let me clear this. Now tell me, I want to put 3 in the frame. Which one do you choose? Do you choose 7? Do you choose 0? Or do you choose 1?
1.
Sorry, not 7, because we removed already 7. Now we have 2, 0, 1. 2, 0, 1. So do you choose 2, or do you choose 0, or do you choose 1?
0.
0. Why 0? Because first in, first out. Again, I am telling the same thing. First in, first out. If I look at the string here, if I see 201, I will see which one is the old one here. First in, the one which comes first is 0. So I want to remove 0. Is that clear, everyone? All the students are clear with this point?
Yes.
No, Mr. No.
Okay, so when we look at the string here, 201, we need to find out which one has come first. First in is going to be the first out. Okay, so if I look at 201 and if I see from the order from the beginning, 0 is the old one. 0 has come first. After that, 1 came. After that, 2 came. So I understand that if I look at the order here, 0 is the old one. First in, first out means what? Which is the old one, which is the new one. So when I compare this, 0 is the old one. Is that clear now? Is that clear?
Yes, Mr.
So what we do now, we'll continue and we remove 0 and we put 3. So why we remove 0? Because as per the algorithm, we need to remove which is the old one. So we remove the one which is old. Now see, again we need 0, which means we need to bring it back in the memory. Now tell me, which one are we going to choose? 1, 3 or 2?
1.
1. If I look at the string from the beginning now, I understand that old one is 2. Old one is 1. Because if I look at 1, after that 2 came, after that 3 came, so I need to remove 1. So if I do the replacement, this is going to be 203. We removed 1 because 1 is the old one. Okay, now we need to bring 4. Tell me which one we will remove.
2.
2, because if I look at this, so now we are actually here. If we look at this, we have 2, 3, 0. Okay, so in this, we understand that 2 is the one which is old. After that 0 came, after that 0 came because we used the 0 and 3 came. So we are going to remove which is the old one now, that is 2. So instead of 2, we removed, we replaced it with 4. Now immediately after some time, we needed to bring back 2. Now tell me which one do we choose? 4, 3, 0.
3.
3. So if I look at the list, so we have 3, 0 and 4, and 3 is the one which is the old one. So we remove 3, we bought 2. Again, you can see we need 3 back. So which one do we remove now?
0.
0, because if you look at the list, 4 to 0, but here we have 0, 4 and 2, and we identify 0 is the old one. So we are going to remove 0. So remember, wherever we removed or wherever we place the page into the memory, we call it as a page fault. Okay, so here there is a page fault because we loaded 7. Here there is a page fault because we loaded 0. Here it is a page fault because we loaded 1. I will highlight. Here there is no page fault. Here also there is a page fault because we loaded 2. Here there is no page fault because 0 was already there. So no page fault here. Here there is a page fault because we replaced 3. Okay, so there is a page fault. Here also we replace something, there is a page fault. Here also we replace something, there is a page fault. Here also we replace something, there is a page fault. Here also we replace something, there is a page fault. Now how many page faults we got? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got page faults is equal to 9. So this is how you are going to get questions in the exam. So you will be given, I will show you the example. You will be given the reference string like this. you will be given the blank frames, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, according to the question. Okay, and you need to apply the algorithm and you need to replace the frames one by one. Is that clear, students, this algorithm?
Yes, Mister.
Okay, let's check the example now, because I want to complete one by one so that it will be clear. Okay, now see this is a reference string. Okay, so consider you will get, if you get a question in the exam, you will get a question like this. Consider the following sequence of page references, means this is your reference string. Okay, and here how many pages we have, sorry, how many frames we have? We have 3 frames, which is given to you like this, 3 frames. And what we need to do, we need to apply the algorithm. Okay, so what we will do now, we have the reference string here and we apply first in first out algorithm to fill the frames, and we count the page faults, how many page faults we are going to get. Okay, so let's do it now. So here we are going to place 8 because this is the first one. Here we have 8 and we'll get a new page, that is 5. Here we have 8, we have 5. Now we get a new page, that is 1. Now tell me, which one are we going to choose to remove?
8.
8. Okay, so please do remember, here I'll put a mark to know the page fault. This is a page fault, this is a page fault, this is a page fault. Okay, now we are going to remove 8 because 8, 5, 1, this is the old one. So I'll remove 8. So this is going to be 2, this is going to be 5, this is going to be 1. So there is a page fault now because we replace the page, there is a page fault. Okay, 5. Do we need to replace 5?
No need.
No need, because already 5 is there. So no change. 2, 5, 1. So no page fault here. Now 3, 5, sorry, we are going to get 3 now. So which one are we going to replace?
5.
5, because the 5 is the old one comparing to 1. So we have 2, 5, 1. And when we look at the string from this side, okay, so we see that the old one is 5. I want to tell you one point. Okay, this is very important. When you solve in the exam, okay, suppose if this is removed, okay, suppose if this is removed from the memory, try to, make a point that, okay, this is removed from the memory. Otherwise, if you see that number there, or try to just strike off. Try to just, put a point here, strike off, so that we understand that this is already removed from the system. Otherwise, that will be there in your memory. You think that this is the old one. Okay, so that's why just try to strike it to understand if it is removed. If it is not removed, just leave it like that. Okay, now we have 2, 5, 1, and we decided that 5 is the old one. So 2 will be same. Instead of 5, I am going to put 3. And 1 will be as it is. So this is a page fault. Okay, now again you see we need a 5. Here we actually removed 5. So that's why I told you to strike off, so that we should know it's not there in the system. Here we replaced 5. So which means already we removed this. We don't have 5. It's already removed. Okay, now we need 5. So which one we are going to choose? 2, 3, 1.
1.
1.
1.
So if you look at this, 1 is the old one. So 1, 2, 3. As per the order, 1 is the old one. So we keep 2 as it is. We keep 3 as it is. We remove 1 with 5. So this is the thing we did, the change. Okay, so this is the page fault. Now 2, 3, 5. Which one we choose? 2, 3, 5.
2.
2. Okay, so if you look at this, 2, 3, 5. So we have 2, we have 3, we have 5. Okay, and remember whatever I told you, right? Whatever the page we remove, try to strike off because it is not there in the system. Okay, so sorry, no need to do anything because already 1 is there. Okay, yeah, because 1 we removed from here. I want you to strike this off. Later, maybe if you get 1 again, it will be a problem. Okay, so 2, 3, 5. We are going to choose 2, 3, 5. In this, we see 2 is the old one. So I choose 2 now. So this strike off. So when I am removing this from here, try to remove from here also, so that you remember it is not there in the system. Okay, so here we'll say 6. Here we say 3, and here we have 5 and page fault. Okay, now we need 2 back. Which one are we going to choose?
3.
3. So when we say here 3, 5, 6, 3 is the old one. So I am going to choose 3. So 6 will be as it is. It's a new one. 3 is the old one. So I'm going to place 2 here, and 5 will be as it is. So I removed 3. So this is the one which we removed. So we remove it from here. Okay. Now we are going to get 6. Sorry, we put a page fault. We are going to get 6 here already in the system. So no need to do any replacement. Another point I noticed from the students, one mistake. Okay, I will tell you about that. Okay, so let me complete this. I will tell you about that. Okay, so here, let me complete this answer. So 6 already there. No need to make any change. 6, it's going to be 2, and it's going to be 5. So no page fault. So how many total page faults we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that clear, students?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so here if I say the answer, how many page faults is going to be 8. So we get 8 page faults. Okay, so this is how we are going to answer this question. Remember this algorithm. Remember this algorithm. I told you to strike this off. Why? Because we have another algorithm. Okay, so that is going to use the pages in a different way. So that's why first in, first out. If the page is removed from the system, try to remove from here, because you should not see that. Whether it is available or not, you should not see that in the system. That's why if you remove the page, just delete it on the top, so that you know that it is not there in the system. Whatever is available in the system, you choose the old one and you replace it. So here, if I want to replace anything now, I am going to choose 5, because 5 is the old one. Okay, that's for that reason, whatever the pages are available, try to keep them. Remaining pages, try to delete them. It will make your job easy. Okay, another point I want to tell you now, the mistake what I normally see in the exams. Okay, suppose the question is this. 5, 5. Okay, what the students does, here it is 8 because it is the first page, done, good. So here it is 8 because already it is there. Now we got a new page, that is 5, done. And here it is 8 and it is 5. And what the students does, they put 5 again. So is it correct?
No, because no need.
No need, because it's already there in the memory. I see these mistakes. That's why I'm telling you, please be careful in the exam. If you get these questions, all these points you need to keep in mind. If the page is already loaded in the system, don't load it again. It's already there. Don't load it. It's already there. So no need to do anything. Keep it as it is. Don't make any change. So here we got a page fault. Here we got a page fault. Here no page fault, because the page which the CPU is asking is already there. So no need to make any action. Now here we get, okay, so we have 8, we have 5. Now we get a new page, that is 2, and this is a page fault. Okay, so hope you understand my point. This is about one algorithm. Okay, so the other two algorithms, yes, please.
Why that 2 is not place 2, 8? Why 2, 5?
Which one you mean here?
Yes, because 8 is the old one.
No, that's okay, because what we need to consider is we have to think that system is like this now. This page is already loaded.
Okay,
You understand
okay.
it, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so we are not
understand
going to
that
make
one.
any change here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it is already there. So we think that the system is like this now, and the page 8 is already there. We got a new page, so we put it wherever it is free. So now we think that, okay, the system has got 8, the system has got 5, so no need to make any change. And here the 8 is there, 5 is there. Now we need to find the free place and we need to put 2.
It's clear. It's clear.
Yeah, so that is how we are going to fill it. Okay, so this is one algorithm, and the remaining two algorithm are little bit, complicated or complex. Shall we stop with this for today?
Yes.
Okay, so because the other two algorithms and one algorithm is almost similar to this algorithm, first in, first out, but there is a small change. So we need a fresh mind to understand this algorithm. That's why I want to stop it from this slide today. And when we come back in the next class, we are going to discuss the remaining algorithm. So today we completed only first in, first out. There are two more algorithms, okay, and we need to discuss the algorithms and the advantages and disadvantages also. And we are also already in holiday mode now, a long break. So let's stop with this for today. The remaining two algorithms, when we come back next week, we are going to meet again next week on Thursday. Okay, so when we come back again on Thursday, we'll try to complete the algorithm. Okay, so we'll stop with this for today. Because this is a very important topic and you need to have a fresh mind to understand that.